And our next speaker is going to build on that. Our next speaker is Mr. Vagelis Hadzianis, who holds a bachelor's degree in shipping, trade and transport from the University of the Aegean, and a master's degree in marine policy from Cardiff University, with a thesis that was focused on the regulatory regime in the ship recycling industry. He works as a dry cargo competitive broker at GMS, and he's occupied there in the green ship recycling and S&P sectors, and he's going to talk to us a little more about green ship recycling.
First of all, for those of you who are wondering why Dr. Sama is not here speaking today, unfortunately he had a flu and he lost his voice, so it was not possible to give a speech, as you understand. So today I'm going to speak about green ship recycling, and I'm going to focus actually in the Indian subcontinent to see another point of view from what has been discussed. In fact, I'm going to firstly discuss what is an environmentally friendly and responsible ship recycling. I'm going to talk briefly about the Hong Kong Convention, as some other delegates already talked about it, and then we are going to see where we are studying today, what are the facts from the industry, and hopefully in the end I will express my closing thoughts. So when it comes to an environmentally responsible and safe ship recycling, we have to see the options that the ship owners are having. Some of them, it is a fact that they are ignoring any corporate social responsibility, and there are others who are considering the options that they have. Of course, it would not be an option to seek a vessel. The best choice for them would be to sell a vessel as, to a further trading buyer, obviously for a variety of reasons, like not getting involved in ship recycling, and of course to have the maximum profit out of the unit. However, if this is not the case, as already explained also earlier, they might choose to sell it on an as-is, where-is basis. We went into that, so I will not go into details. And the other options that they might have would be to either create their own program that would ensure that they are complying with ship recycling practices who are taking under consideration all the regulatory regime, or they have to address the issue to cash buyers who are experts in the industry, who know the regulatory regime, and they know what they have to do in order to ensure that green practices are followed. So actually, when we are talking about green ship recycling, recycling overall, actually, we have to say that the wastes that are coming out of a vessel, the hazardous wastes, are only 2 to 4%. In the Indian subcontinent, all of the rest materials are actually recycled or reused, from electrical cables to furnitures, who are actually being resold to the relevant second-hand market. So this is also justifying why the prices offered in the Indian subcontinent are usually higher than in the rest countries. Then, when we are talking about ship recycling, according to the scrap recycling industries, as you can see here, some statistics, producing new steel out of iron ore, it has much more disadvantages than actually recycling scrap metals. You can see that about 74% of the energy is being saved by recycling the existing metal. You can see that there's a saving in the waste generated by 105%. The water pollution is reduced by 76%. So these are some of the statistics that the ship owner would have to take under consideration when he's about to recycle his vessel. Now, when it comes to the Hong Kong Convention, we already discussed when it was adopted, we already discussed the criteria that has to be met in order to enter into consideration. However, we did not say that the Hong Kong Convention was developed in cooperation with the International Labour Organization, and it took also under consideration the Basel Convention. There was a working group committee that they cooperated for about 10 years in order to have the final outcome of the Hong Kong Convention as we know it today. The inventory of hazardous materials that has already been mentioned also will be mandatory for all the new ships that will enter into the market after the Hong Kong Convention enters into force. However, for the existing ships, they will have to comply within 5 years from the day that the Hong Kong Convention will enter into force. There will be some surveys that will have to be taking place in order to make sure that the inventory of hazardous materials is being kept updated during the operational life of the vessel. There have to be some surveys which will ensure that any change that has been made to the vessel will actually reflect all the materials that have been either put on board or removed from the vessel. And of course, before the actual recycling of the vessel, there will have to be a final survey which will make sure that the inventory of hazardous material is duly filled by the ship owner, or every material is actually properly described in there, in order for the ship recycling facility to have an accurate view of everything that exists on board is properly described. Now, the ship recycling facility has also requirements, with the two main of them being to protect the health and of the workers and, of course, of the surrounding population of the area where the ship recycling facility is operating, and, of course, to protect the environment by minimizing the adverse effects caused by ship recycling. Now, the ship recycling plan, as you might already know, it has to be ship-specific. It has to be developed taking into consideration the inventory of hazardous materials. It has for tankers especially, it has to provide for safe for man entry and safe for hot work. And it should be maintained in such a way that the ship recycling facility will be able to maintain this criteria. And of course, it should be describing how the hazardous materials are going finally to be disposed in an environmentally and sound way. The ship recycling facility plan, which has to be available to every ship recycling facility, it has to be providing to the users, to the cash buyers, a policy for safety and protection of the environment. It has to be clear that what has to be followed. It should be clarifying all the improvements that are possible to take place, and that there are always continuous improvements in the facility. And of course, identify the responsibilities of each worker, identify the training that is taking place within the facility itself. And another criteria would be to maintain a preparedness plan in case of an emergency, like let's say, for example, in case there's a fire in a facility, and so forth. Now, where are we starting today? Unfortunately, there are very few owners who are seriously taking under consideration the corporate social responsibility. From our experience, from what we have seen in GMS, it is only Japanese and Scandinavian owners who are really interested in green ship recycling practices and not just, let's say, the top dollar that they can achieve. On the other hand, we can see ship recycling facilities, especially in the Indian subcontinent, especially in India, of the Indian subcontinent, that have adopted several ISO certifications, ISO standards, in order to comply with the international and local regulations. They have developed several practices for training the workers, and they have developed their infrastructure in such a way that no random pictures can be shown up in the internet with workers carrying scrap plates with a bare hands or anything like that. Now, I'm going to make a little bit different approach until I get to the point of green ship recycling. I'm going to start with the prices. As you can see, this is the Baltic demolition assessment since early of 2011. You can see that overall, until today, there has been a huge decline. However, we need to have an understanding of why this is happening. As you can see here, until the beginning of 2012, there was not that huge difference in the prices comparing to the beginning of 2012. But where are we starting today? If you see, there's a huge decrease in the prices offered, both in the Indian subcontinent and in China, actually. China, as we speak today, is increasing, but we are going, the price is offered, but we are going to have a closer look why all this is happening. So on the left, you can see some data which were provided from Allied Shipbroking, and they are comparing the numbers from between 2011 and 2012. I have highlighted with red what has surpassed already last year's volumes, and you can see that there's a total of about 8 million excess deadweight being offered for recycling only in the bulk carriers. Now, when we come to the tankers, although comparing each category of vessel, overall the numbers do not make a big difference. If you look again the totals, we can see again a about 2.4 million increase in deadweight increase. Be considering like protecting boots and masks for the workers. And here you can see a sign in an asbestos handling unit. And here from a paint chip storage, the relevant sign. Now, when it comes to safety paths, in case of emergency, you can see that they are properly lined. You can see that there are no materials that are not allowing the workers to be able to escape in case of an accident. You can see here that they are operating under their safety equipment. This is some of the existing infrastructure today in Alang. You can see that there is everything that is required in order the workers not to have to carry by their bare hands anything. The infrastructure is there. You can see also here some piling of steel rods, storage for pumps and other materials which are being removed from the vessel. An asbestos handling unit, storage materials, storage for hazardous materials again here, and for oil barrels. You can see even me here on the left, and with some workers wearing their protecting equipment. You can see here some workers who are operating a winch in order to pull the vessel towards them. They are not doing it with bare hands, as we see sometimes on the internet. You can see some cutting procedures here. And under a green program, you can see here 2 workers who are identifying hazardous materials on board the vessel for the same removal of them. Now, how all this have been achieved? It's poorly done from the facilities themselves. There's no obligatory regulation, unfortunately, for all these things. However, they have adopted ISO standards, which are allowing them to develop a management system that is protecting the environment. They are protecting the workers and providing all the necessary information that have to be taken under consideration. You are already probably aware of ISO 9001, 14001, and 80001. There's also the ISO 30000, which is developed specifically for the ship recycling industry. It's been developed in accordance with the HOCO Convention. It is based on the methodology known as Plan, Do, Check, Act, meaning that they have to identify the objectives before any ship recycling starts. They have to implement these objectives that have been made. They have to monitor the procedures and the compliance with the existing regulatory regime, and of course to always develop further criteria in order to improve the practices that are undertaken under any management system. Now, as you understand from this presentation of mine, the ship recycling is for sure necessary to be taking place. There's no other existing option in order to achieve an equilibrium, let's say, in the shipping industry. There's the demand and the supply and demand of the vessels are not getting along together, so ship recycling can provide the only solution. The IMO has developed a convention, however, as already argued, it has not been adapted yet. It has not entered into force yet. And we do not know when this is going to happen, as there's no actually country who has accepted it without any further comments, like without reservation as to acceptance. Of course, it is up to the ship owners also to help promote this kind of corporate social responsibility, because green ship recycling is good for the environment. It is the only solution for the future. Thank you so much.